Before you get started with the video today, let's talk about how to use these videos. There's 8 parts to what we're going to do. First of all, we're going to create some tables. We're going to create relationships between those tables. We're going to create some forms with multiple table sources, our invoice. We're going to format that invoice so it prints well. We're going to add some more controls. We're going to create a query to sort the data for finding overdue invoices. Finally, we're going to create a report. And then the application will be finalized, removing all menus and creating a navigation form. And so you'll be done with a nice application that looks like this. It's a program that would run a small business that we're going to use. This one's called Crystal Pools. It keeps track of our customers, it keeps track of our invoices, it keeps track of our products that we're selling, and it keeps track of who sells them to us, and also creates reports so that we can see who has not paid our bills. The teacher here is me, Shad David Sluter. I work as a teacher in Tolleson Union High School District at Westview High School. You can use these lessons to follow along. So 8 videos, do exactly as the videos show, duplicating on your own screen. And finally, when you're done, instead of printing the application, we're simply going to grade it as a standalone program. Now let's get going. Welcome back to Access 2013, the Crystal Pools edition of training. We're going to do some more modifications for our invoice form so that it will print nicely on our printer and we can give it to our customer after they leave the store. We're going to notice several problems with how we can print right now. First of all, let's go and see what happens when we print. So I click on File and choose Print. And let's just select Print Preview. And you'll see right away a few problems. First of all, our invoice has some blanks where it says invoice number. When I start scrolling through here, I get blank pages with partial fields appearing on them. That's because the pages are too wide. New form starts about halfway down the page, so it's really a mess. So this video is to help us fix up some of the problems that you see right now in front of us. So let's close the print preview. The first thing that we notice is that our form is too wide. So let's go back to the design view and we can fix that quite simply. If it's too wide, then we just need to make it narrower. So let's first of all start with a subform. Let's click some of these fields and make them smaller and move them over. Not only do we need to make the fields themselves smaller, but the titles above them should match their width as well. So this is the header of the table. So all the items now are a little bit narrower. This allows us to reduce the size of the form. So I'll click on the edge of it to get the yellow outline. The subform can now be shrunken about to there, which gives us the opportunity now to use the entire right margin a little bit narrower. And so you have to experiment a bit with your ability of rearranging things. So let's go back to Form View. It looks narrower now, but we can still see all the pieces. And let's do a print preview. And now it looks like the pieces are actually fitting on the width of the page. That's fine. But you notice that sometimes the forms start halfway down the page and some drop onto the next page. What we're missing now are page breaks. Let's go back to our design and we'll insert a page break. A page break should go down here at the end. I need to squeeze it in here just to be around form footer, so I need to get some more space. So I'm going to drag down a little ways to create some space, move the form footer down a little bit. And now I have a gap between my subform and the form footer. The page break option is this icon here. It looks like 2 pieces of paper with a line between them. I'm going to click in this space. The smallest of form items is a small yellow line. It looks like a series of dots here, but it makes a big difference when we go to print. So if I try print and preview, now my invoice starts at the top. It starts at the top every single time. So I'm no longer showing the beginning of reports on each page. However, there's a big problem that's still ahead of us. We're looking at the wrong data. There should only be about 5 invoices. I can see 300 and some of them. So to limit the invoice from showing all the customers and even blank invoice ID numbers, I'm going to go into what's called the query setting for the form. Let's click on the invoice form tab, and over here in the properties for the form, there's lots of different things to set. I'm going to go into the data option. This is where our problem is. I'm going to choose record source. Right now, our record source is set to show all records in the customer table. I'm going to click the 3 little dots at the end, which brings up a field that we haven't seen yet before. This is a query builder. As you may remember, when we created the form, we went through a wizard and it asks us for lots and lots of things. What do you want to put on the form? Well, that was creating this here called the query builder for the invoice form. It shows the 2 tables where we got all of our data. The first field is called the invoice ID. It comes from the invoice table. Customer table is shown here. So we're blending tables together into our form. What I want to do is add one item under criteria. So for the invoice ID, I'm going to put a greater than 0 in for the criteria. So I just typed it on the keyboard, greater than sign 0. So it will only display in our form any records where the invoice actually exists, where there's a number. So that's all we have to do is add this greater than 0. Let's close this and save the changes. And so now when we go look at our form, under the form view, you will see that the browser of the records down here only shows 6 records. And before it was 350 or something like that. And so when I scroll through, you can see the records for the invoices that we've created before until we come to a new one at the end. In our print preview, we should only see a few pages. And so here's page 1. Invoice ID number 1, and we'll scroll to 2. And it looks like that's what we're expecting now. So we get to the end of the form, we get to page 7, and it's it. That's all that we have. And so we've fixed the amount of pages that are printed. We've fixed the margins. Now all that is left to do is give a subtotal here so that the people know how much they bought. So let's go into the design view. And we're going to scroll down to our subform. And we're looking to hide something down in the footer. So we need to first of all make some space here. So let's expand the form a bit. Slide down the form footer. And so there's a little bit of space to work with. What we need to do next is add a field, or a text box, we'll call it. So I'm going to click text box. And we're going to put it about at the bottom of the sale prices. Now this will be a calculated field. We're not going to look it up from a database. We're going to use math functions. So let's go over to the data format under the property sheet. And the control source for this field is going to be changed. So let's click the last 3 dots. And we have lots of options for what we can put in here. We're looking for functions. And we're looking for the built-in functions. And the section we're looking for are called SQL aggregates. And eventually you'll come to the word sum. And we'll double-click it. Now you don't have to go through and find all these functions like I just did. If you know that the sum function is in the list, you can just type it in the window here, SUM. What's inside the parentheses? Well, let's double-click where it says expression and delete it. We're looking to add up the sum of this field right here that says sale price. It's called sale price, so if I start typing SAL, you will see that there's 2 items in the form. There's one called sale price, that's a text box, or the label. So we're looking to add sale price here from the text box. So I'm going to double-click this. And now the syntax shows up here as equals sum, a parentheses, and then the brackets are how we name the fields. Click OK. So now you should see the formula that we just created down here in the yellow box, the sum of the sale price items. Well, the label in front of it says text 22. That's not very helpful. We'll just call that subtotal. So we'll rename that. Press enter. Now let's go look at the form under our form view. And let's see if it's working. Look at here. We're in invoice number 1. And you can see the sale price of 2 different items is added together. Let's go and add a new field. So let's go to the last one, press tab, and let's pick another product, the drain hose, and let's do 8 of those, and tab. And when we start a new line, the subtotal is updated. One more thing we could do is we could format that as a $sign. So let's go back to our design view. Go back to our field. So let's click on this field here where it says sum and go over to the properties. We're looking at format, and the first item on the list is called format. Let's click the options for the arrow. There's general, long integers, dates. Here's one called currency. And now we should see currency in our format. So let's go back to the form view, scroll down, and sure enough there's $signs in our subtotal. And so now as we scroll through our list of invoices, the sales price should show up as a subtotal at the bottom of each item where there are actual items in the list.